Well, hello, my darlings, and welcome to the Just Jax podcast. Hi, I'm Jax, a former queen of chaos. And listen, life can be a real shit show sometimes, and this podcast is all about flipping the script on your struggles, turning mountains back into molehills, and finding the can in your can't. No fluff, no sugarcoating, just real, sometimes squirrel talk, hard truths, and a whole lot of laughter along the way. If you're tired of the same old cycles and ready to shake things up, then you're in the right place. Listen each week and we can turn that shit into fertilizer and grow something amazing. You in? Well, hello, my darlings, and welcome back to the Just Jax podcast. This is a big day for me, for this is episode 52, which means that I kept my promise, where I'm the type of person who can do things 52 times in a row, even if that is for a solid year. There were some real times that it was very difficult, but I was able to drop an episode every Tuesday for 52 times, and today is no different. Sometimes I had to wait till after my workday on Tuesday, like today, to be able to get this message out. But, I am very proud of myself that I was able to fulfill that wish within myself. And now I get to decide what I want to do with my podcast afterwards. I seem to be getting more traction now on my podcast than I did before. And thank you to all of you who are listening. And that was a wish of mine, that I would be able to help people and with my crazy way of thinking, and that I would be able to make money just being me. And I have been doing a whole bunch of different types of modalities and healings and manifestation rituals and throwing cinnamon in and outside the house, putting quarters there, doing new moon rituals, doing the 12 magical nights of Christmas, where you take 13 wishes that are absolutely impossible to do. You burn one every day until you're left with number 13, and 13 is the one that you're supposed to be taking care of, whereas the other 12 the universe is supposed to be taking care of. And the two that I had asked for the last 2 years have not come true as of yet. But because of what I'm building in the next couple weeks, you never know. I actually may get a delayed gratification, or maybe it was put on layaway. I don't know if some of you even remember what layaway was, but I'm getting ready to receive those gifts, in the process of wanting to have a life where I could make money being me. I even got animals in a very sacred ritual sacrificed for me in this endeavor to find out a message for me. And one of the messages is that I am going to be able to make money from my home being myself. Now, there is a small problem with that when you have a very bad self-image and you're insecure and have tremendous imposter syndrome. But I decided to do something different this time, and I wrote out my podcast episode for you. There are over 12 sheets of paper here that I have handwritten, and isn't that kind of ironic that in order to get my feelings and my thoughts and everything organized, I needed to write it all out. One of the problems I had with making money being me is that I have been known as a messy person. There have been very messy segments of my life where I also have been known as Hurricane Jax. If you ask my boy's dad on what my nickname was when we were married, that was my nickname, only because I was a fantastic cook, but I dirtied every utensil in the kitchen in order to make that happen. It's very interesting when you start talking about women and they complain about their husbands, how their husbands aren't very neat and tidy and they leave things around and they never make the bed and they do all these dropsy things with items all over the house. And full disclosure, that is me. When my husband and I were first married, I had a black sock that fell out of my basket and it stayed in my closet on the floor for a good week or so, 2 weeks, until finally my husband just lost it. He goes, "Why is that black sock in the closet?" I said, "Well, because I left it there." It has taken 10 years for me to have a clean sink encounter. And even now, just before I came to record my podcast, I ran into the kitchen and cleaned up all the dishes because he likes to have a clean sink when he comes home and counters, and it makes his disposition a little bit sunnier, if that's. And so I've now gotten to the habit of just before he comes home making sure the kitchen is cleaner than it normally is if I he wasn't coming home. I have to say, it'd be very interesting to see what my life would be like if he was no longer in the picture. I wonder if I would resort back to the way it was before, but I really do like how neat and tidy my house is now. And when things start to get cluttered, it takes everything in my power to slow down and take a look at the items that are left out. And I would say almost 100% of the time, they're my items that are stuck in a I don't know what to do with them mode at the moment. And they just sit there either on the counter or the table or wherever they sit. And he's been very gracious about letting them sit there. But I am a messy person. I guess I can honestly say that. I've never been known for my housekeeping, or my house cleaning or anything like that. I'm a relatively clean person myself, although I shower infrequently, which may come as an alarm to some people, but my body requires less showering than others, for I don't sweat a lot. And I also haven't been doing very much to conjure up a sweat. So when Cursive came into my life, I really bucked against the perfection and shame that came with it. It appeared plain as day on an episode that I was watching on the Great British Bake Off. And on this show, one of the contestants wrote out what they needed to do, and one of the hosts found that piece of paper and started making fun of the individual. Seeing that behavior was quite a contrast because that show is probably one of the most positive shows I've ever seen. What I marveled about the show were two things. One, camaraderie, to me is the most fascinating thing because I'd say there's maybe 10 seasons and there's Christmas shows, and every season they bring bakers, and every year they all become the best of friends. They cheer for each other. They're so happy when each other win, and they're devastated when each other leave the show. And it surprised me, and what a contrast it was for that gentleman to make fun of that contestant's writing when it really had nothing to do with the show or baking in general. And the second thing that made me realize how much I love about the show is that it also matches my mantra of messy still gets the win. In the show, there are three basic challenges. There's a signature challenge, a technical challenge, and a showstopper challenge. The signature and the showstopper challenge are both challenges in which they are given time to prepare, as well as given notion what the challenge is going to be. And they have also time to practice it. Actually, sometimes they get asked if they practice it. And you'd be surprised at how many people don't. But the middle challenge of the three is called the technical, where the baking experts choose a difficult dish and give a very watered down and basic recipe to even the playing field. So, for instance, they have to make a custard. It'll say make custard. Or it'll say bake, and it won't tell them for how long, and it won't tell them the temperature either. Their submissions of what they make fall into three basic categories as well. One, oh, they just killed it. Fantastic. Second, they bombed with the execution, but the flavors were fantastic. And the third one was they just bombed and the flavors either were something that the judges didn't like or there was no flavor whatsoever. And every week there is a decision of who goes home. And whoever goes home is based on the criteria of one, who sucked the most and had the worst flavors. So if you were in a situation where your your cake flopped, but the flavors were fantastic. If there was someone else that did worse than you, then your messy situation would still get the win. I actually saw a technical challenge where every single person failed it. It was horrific. The judges actually came out and started to laugh because they couldn't believe how horrible everything was. So there was one where it was, I'd say, about a 75% success, and that 75% still gave them the win of the technical and would have contributed to if they were going to become Star Baker. And Star Baker was someone who, basically exactly what it said in all three challenges, was a star or close to a star. Sometimes we forget that messy can still get the win. I've seen it so many players when interviewed, and they say, I wish that game, match, performance, or race would have been cleaner, but a W is still a W. And that to me was the most important part, is that there are so many things in life where we lose that because we're either too tall, too short, wrong gender, wrong hair color, unattractive, unintelligent, um, successful, whatever it could be. You're just an ordinary person. But anytime that we can get a win, that's a good thing, especially if it's something that helps us win and become better in life. So when Cursive came into my life as a purpose, now, of course, purpose is a very strong word, and I have been resisting against that from the get go because I'm the last person to represent this skill, for my life is messy. What kind of spokesperson am I going to be? I have skeletons in my closet. They're having their own Halloween party, for fuck's sake. So why would I want to be front and center and in the mind's eye when I could very easily get pointed out for some of the choices that I've made in my life? A lot of this stuff has been stories from my podcast, but I never thought myself as someone that would be an expert or a spokesperson for a movement or something like that, because number two, I am a skimmer. I thrive on just getting enough information to complete the project, and then I move on. There are so many things I have on my bookshelf where I've taken enough of the information, dove in to get the information, dove right back out. The best way to describe that is that I'm a horizontal person. I go this way and I only dig deep, like almost like potholes per se, or like a heartbeat, where it's a very, very specific thing. And I only go up and down when I absolutely need to go up and down. Other than that, I stay pretty level on this horizontal plane. And that's one of the hardest things I had about becoming a Cursive spokesperson, because I am no expert on this subject whatsoever. In fact, I had no idea that there were different types. All I wanted to do was get this benefit back into the hands of people. And that wasn't even the first thing. I thought my books were going to fly off the shelf and I was going to become a multimillionaire over the fantastic books that I had. Because why wouldn't people want to take a boring subject and make it more fun? Well, because of these two things, I lost my voice. And you've heard in other podcasts that I even made myself sick because it just made me feel bad about myself. I have enjoyed this horizontal life and it has served me very well because I have become a jack of all trades, and I've become quite fearless because I figured that I'm just going to go into it, get what I need, and get right back out. So I have a Mission Impossible type of attitude towards things. Dun, 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 dun. And I just go in, get the stuff, and get out. Sometimes that can be a little bit more challenging, and sometimes I do need to go vertical with it. And next week I am releasing a way to learn cursive for free. On Wednesday next week, April 1st, I will be releasing a letter every day for the month of April from the 1st to the 26th, so that by April 26th, everyone will be able to have their entire cursive library and their letters with printables that are available as well, and videos to watch. And with this, I have been talking about this big program, and I just finished today over 600 printables for this new course that I am creating. I was so proud of myself because I just have to go back and tweak them a little bit more. And I only have 52 more to do. And phase one, the printables will be done. Next is the video section. I'll have over 700 videos as well for that. I get to learn also how to edit videos, which it'll be good for me. So with this extra component, these extra 52 sheets, I really struggled of whether or not I should go vertical with this issue or not. And that was with the letter B, and whether or not there were two versions needed, two Bs or not two Bs. That indeed was the question for me. It made me laugh when I had this two Bs or not two Bs. That is Jackson's question, because Hamlet struggled whether or not to exist and his famous quote, to be or not to be. And I had to struggle with the existence of both versions of this letter B in cursive. This was made apparent to me when I was given a 3-star review. Style of the letter or two may be off. I have not decided whether or not to keep this. ... While flipping through my new arrival, I discovered that the lowercase b is oddly created. For cursive learners, it forces them to create the letter with this extra bubble or loop, which I have never come across until this book. Typically, it's created with a straighter line, no loop present on the right side of the B. The way the author has created it with this bubble loop, I feel it could potentially morph into looking like an E for newer writers. Perhaps this way of creating cursive is common elsewhere. However, it is a problem for me. So I thought I was going to ignore this woman and this comment because I was what am I supposed to do? I don't know what the difference is. I'm no expert, remember? I just wanted to help people write. So I was debating of whether or not I needed to do anything about this. I went to it was an all women's weekend and it was awesome. It really taught me things that I needed to learn about myself. And it was like a car wash for me. It really shook me up and cleaned out and washed up some things in my brain that made me realize what I'm struggling with in my marriage and within myself. When I was there, some of these women got up and introduced themselves. And one of the women there was a homeschool advocator and had so many kick-ass connections with homeschoolers and such. And I thought, oh, I'm going to send you my books and maybe you can help me get the word out about my fabulous system and everything. When we had a FaceTime, she didn't even say hello to me. She goes, what's with that B? Why do you have a loop instead of a tick? And I'm like, what? Hello, did you even look at the books? All she looked at the B and that was it. Stopped. And I thought, is it really all that important? Like, honestly? Clearly it was. So I had my books revamped. I spent lots of money for my artist to hand draw the B tick. For the loop was what the computer created, and my artist couldn't find a font that had a tick for the B, so she had to hand draw the B again to include the tick. Me in my full horizontal fashion thought that the tick was traditional and the loop was script or modern, and I was wrong there too, for I went to visit a friend of mine who is from Australia, and in her true bold Aussie fashion, she exclaimed, "What the hell is this tick nonsense?" And I'm like, oh my God, I could feel my blood pressure coming up. I'm like, what? She's like, what is this tick nonsense? In Australia, we learned it as a loop. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. Does it have to do with international stuff? I had no idea that Australia learned with the loop. And I thought, okay, well then that makes me feel better. At least I didn't waste my time including both tick and loop for the B, right? And then my girlfriend came over last week and I've been talking to her about my cursive stuff since the beginning. And then she finally looked at my B and she goes, oh, that tick is interesting. I've always been taught the loop. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, so to be fair to whatever person is learning cursive, I have now going to include the letter B as for the connector is going to have a tick as well as the connector will also have a loop. That way it can actually service both learning styles. And number three, so the first one is that I'm messy. The second one is that I'm a skimmer. And the third one is that I'm an ordinary person. And I have done some extraordinary things. Some good and some have cost me. But that mess in number one in regards to my life has been my journey. And it's like I went on a very strange emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual scavenger hunt to a degree. I was able to pick up little nuggets and things to stick into my bag of tricks that now I'm able to come forth and talk. But that mess really held me back because I thought, who would take me seriously? Honestly, because I'm just an ordinary person with a messy past. But I came to realize that making me a skimmer is what made me perfect for the job. Because nowhere in life does a skimmer appear to get the win. But what it made me realize was that cursive is perfect for skimmers. And I'm sorry to all those moms and teachers and people that are wanting to make their O's perfect and legible. I get it. And I'm here and I applaud it. But if you can make the word with one stroke of the pen, and if you get the word picture in or you get the feeling out, it no longer needs to be pretty to be effective. Pretty is optional. With cursive, there is finally a place where messy gets the win, and no matter how much you suck, you still get the benefit. Earlier, I was stumbling or writing on the word ordinary, and I had to take 3 tries to get it to be right. And I even hesitated quite a few times to get the word out, but I got it right. That's what cursive does. It teaches words as a complete thought. Printing has individual ideas or blocks, where cursive connects all those ideas together like a chain, making us remember the word as a whole. So when I see ordinary, I see ordinary. I see the entire word together, and my brain needs to get that out on the paper. Who cares if my writing was pretty or if my O was a perfect circle? Because what was needed was learning how the pen moves through the path of the letters to learn the word, not how pretty the path was. That is no longer relevant. Cursive is a tool to help us get through the ugly. It's there when we struggle the most. If you're struggling with reading or letter reversals and feel like a complete loser because you're having difficulties in that area, cursive can help. If you're feeling lost, frustrated, depressed, anxious, any of those things, when you get your thoughts on paper, for some reason, that paper opens up to a container that can be as large as you need it to be, and it can hold all your feelings, all your anger, joy, sadness. It can hold it all in that piece of paper. And if you want to get through something, cursive can help you get through that. But what is really important is that it no longer has to be pretty to be effective. Now, I know all my perfectionistic teachers are going to go, you're just going to lose the idea of cursive. We're losing it now. And perfectionism is part of the problem. And that's what I'm talking about in this episode. Next week, we're going to talk about the map and how people get lost and how I've created a map. And I've actually cracked the cursive code by creating maps for every single letter and beyond to help with all of that. Yes, cursive can still be taught to be pretty. So if you have a note, a personal card, or something like that, you can totally do that. But you know what really surprised me the most is where we need to learn cursive is I have a friend of mine who I'm going to be having on my podcast, and she has been to hell and back and is a true Scar Wars champion. She left her husband, and her husband went to lengths to destroy her that most people only read about or see on TV. And she is going to share her stories and some resources that are going to help other women that have maybe going through something like that. She has written her story as a memoir. She truly is a phoenix and has come through the ashes and is rising for herself and for all of us as well. But her middle child right now is in culinary school and called his mom right away. He's like, Mom, I need to talk to Jax. And she's like, well, you could contact her through phone or whatever. He goes, I need to get one of her cursive books. And she's like, why? He goes, well, because I need to learn how to write happy birthday or get well or whatever you need to write on a birthday cake, because cursive is quite relevant to bakeries and people who give cakes for holidays and celebrations and such. So that is a good place for it to be pretty, because when you're using it on a cake, or although how many people can actually read it now, that's part of the problem as well, but we'll get into that on another day. Other than type of artwork or creative project that includes cursive or being a baker, there really is no need for it to be perfect or something that can be judged or measured. The other place where cursive needs to be somewhat legible is a signature. And even that is very loose, because if you look at a doctor's signature, for Pete's sake, they're notorious for being messy and especially illegible. But again, messy still gets the win. Even in a signature, your signature doesn't have to be pretty in order for it to be a signature. Now, you could if you want to be able to get accolades and such like that, but it's no longer necessary. When I was still thinking that my path was with my books as being the sole part of my library instead of just a section of my library, I wanted something that would draw people in to show them that cursive truly was simply a long string made into letter shapes along the way. My first attempt was very messy and crooked, but it taught something. This is my name written in wire. I took a piece of wire and some pliers, and I created my name in wire. There were two things that I learned from this fabulous experience. First thing is that this is a vertical project. If I was to make money, I would have to really work at it to perfect it, as you can see, because I am no natural at it. That is the trademark of a Jacks of all trades item. Do I make the choice to go vertical? I did buy enough stuff to do vertical. I bought you need different types of pliers. I also bought, there's a knitting machine so you can knit a little sock that goes over the name or whatever you're going to create. And I bought those thinking, well, you know what? If I really like it, then I can start doing it. And then when I started playing with this, I realized that it was going to take a lot more effort. And also, my hands are no longer 30 years old. And to be able to do this nonstop for that to be able to, I don't think my hands could take it anymore. I already have a little bit of arthritis and stuff. My pointer finger is showing signs of that. Even doing those 600 printables, my arms are giving me static. So I'm sorry. I don't think that I would have what it takes to even finish or do that vertical job. But in regards to writing my name out, this is my name. I was very successful. And if I wrote that out in cursive, I'd be very happy if that was the first time I wrote it in cursive, because that's kick ass. It's at least legible. With all of this talk of being pretty and messy, and it's been very interesting for me because for the last little while, I have been able to stay at home where I no longer have a concern about being pretty. I can just basically, even if I brush my hair that day, it's no longer necessary for me to be pretty to be effective because nobody sees me anymore. But who knew that I would become an advocate for the messy writer? Because cursive needs help in two places: perfectionism, which is what we're talking about today, and the second one is flow. To me, the little directional arrows that we include in our cursive instruction. And believe me, I am the biggest sinner of it too. If you look at my books, I included the arrows too, because I thought that that would be enough. But I realized that when I saw a child working on my book with the little arrows there, they did absolutely nothing to help him be able to write in cursive. The next portion of what I'm going to be talking about next week is the flow. The flow is the most important thing. We need to concentrate on the flow over the flaws in our writing. So next week, we're going to talk about how my new cursive stroke library can help with that. I'm launching my cursive alphabet on April 1st, no joke. And we start with the letter A and complete the library on April 26th. On April 15th, we're going to be having the letter O, and you're either going to go, oh, or ooh, with what I have to offer, because it has never been done in cursive before, and it is going to be the answer to helping people crack the cursive code. I'm very excited. This week is all about how Messi still gets the win, and next week is all about flow over flaw. We're going to talk about the flow of cursive and how to get the flow back in your life, and it's the tool to help you do that. Thank you for spending your time with me. This is the end of our episode. I am very excited that next week we're going to have a whole bunch of things to tell you about what's coming up, and stay tuned for April 15th. That's the big O. And that one, I am launching my Jaxified cursive stroke library, and I hope that this can help everyone learn this wonderful skill. Make sure you share this with everyone. Tell everyone. April 1st, anyone and everyone can learn how to write cursive. Stay tuned. You can reach me on my Facebook or Instagram pages of Just Jack's Podcast, as well as crackthecursive.com. And on that Crack the Cursive Code, you'll be able to see my complete library of books, digital, video, audio, and my t-shirt designs. So check that out. They'll be ready and exciting for next week. Love you. Jack's out.